All right, what is going on, everybody? What is going on? Second post-game show I'm doing here. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Thunder over the Pacers, 123-107. Series tied one apiece. Probably not a little crazy long on this one. I think I did an hour that first post-game show, or close to an hour. Let's just be real. Not as exciting as a game. So I don't think we're going to get an hour in here. Thank you for hanging out. Appreciate you guys. I think I mentioned this. I think I mentioned on Friday that I was going to do a post-game show. I wasn't actually 100% sure if I was going to do it, but committed to it. We'll make it happen. Thunder over the Pacers. Series tied at one apiece. I did already kind of queue up here. I saw Rick Carlisle was talking, so I queued that up. I'm going to just kind of get my thoughts initially on the game. We'll take a look at some of the comments. We'll play a couple of interviews. If there's any interviews out there that I think are worthwhile that you guys would want to hear, we'll make sure to play that. If you guys are on this channel and are here just to hear some post-game conversation, awesome. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. Okay, so real quick here. Let's kind of get into the game here real quick. Basically, Thunder led the entire game. I mean, not that much different than game one. The only difference was it wasn't just a 15-point lead. What was their biggest lead? It had to be around 21, 22 points, something around that. Let me just double check here. What was the biggest lead the Thunder had? 23. 23 was the biggest lead that the Thunder had. And the difference in this game was there was just a big enough margin where it didn't really matter what the Indiana Pacers were going to do. They weren't going to come back in this game. So I thought, early on, and if it was later in the game, maybe I would make a little bit more big deal about it. I thought there was a stretch early on where Indiana, I think, took a 3-point lead. They were up 20-17, and then just kind of fired away on every possession, kept taking threes. I thought they missed some opportunities, and then OKC closed out the quarter. I want to say 9-0. So they took 6-7-point lead going into the second quarter. And then from that point on, they outscored them by 11 in the second quarter. And there was just enough separation there where the Oklahoma City Thunder felt comfortable the entire time. Now, some of the, I guess you would call it key differences from the game before. Some of the key differences, I would say, is there was actually some balance. Other players showed up. It wasn't all on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's back. If you guys remember this, what was this we were talking about? We were talking about this. The Indiana Pacers had 6 players scoring double figures in game one. In game two, it was kind of flipped here. So all of a sudden now you had the Oklahoma City Thunder. And by the way, that's not to say that the Pacers still didn't have balance, but the balance that OKC needed, they got it tonight. Shai dropped 34. By the way, also had 8 assists, 5 rebounds, had 4 steals. Chet Holmgren, we were actually allowed to say his name because we couldn't say it in the first game because he was nowhere to be found. He was 6 of 11 from the field, 15.6 rebounds. By the way, nothing crazy, but enough to where you can point out his name and you could point out some of his contributions. Jalen Williams, still not a great game, but got to the free throw line, ended up with 19 points, had 5 rebounds and 5 assists. Then you got Caruso giving you 20 off the bench, and then you got Aaron Wiggins giving you 18 off the bench as well. So that's what the Thunder are. They got a tremendous amount of balance. They got a really, really talented team. They got a number of different players that we don't even know yet that are just they're so young. They're not going to be good for a couple of years, but what they have to have is they got to have Chet Holmgren and they got to have Jalen Williams. As young as those two players are, if Oklahoma City are going to win an NBA championship and they're going to figure out how to be the second youngest team in finals history and then actually cash in and win a championship, you got to have your main players show up. They didn't show up in the first game. I thought Dort showed up in the first game. Caruso showed up in the first game, and so did Shai. In tonight's game, he had help. Shai's doing his thing. He's shown why he's, the most valuable player in the NBA. But unless his running mates show up, it's going to be really, really tough for the Oklahoma City Thunder to win 4. On the Pacers side, you look at some of their key players. Tyrese had 17. Really didn't feel all that aggressive. Committed a lot of turnovers, 5 turnovers for him. Siakam has been very underwhelming so far this series. I know he had a couple of big-time rebounds, those offensive rebounds that he had in game one. But I'm a big Pascal Siakam fan. I think the main reason why they won their series against the New York Knicks and got to the NBA Finals is because Pascal Siakam might be one of the more underrated players in the NBA. It's not that people don't know him. It's not that people don't think he's good. He's just not talked about all that much. But with all that in mind, if Pascal Siakam, look at his stats tonight. If Siakam's giving you 15 points, 3 of 11 from the field, and Tyrese is 7 of 13, that's tough. Siakam's got to be wildly better than that. They obviously need 6, 7 players to step up every single night, but you got to have your stars be your stars. So even if you say, hey, you had 6 guys that stepped up, but you got to have your 1 and your 2 step up like they're supposed to, and that wasn't the case in tonight's game. If you take a step back, and I'm going to look at the comments here in just a second, here's the reality of the first 2 games. If you're the Indiana Pacers, and I told you on Sunday, June 8th at 8:07 p.m., you were going to walk back to Indiana tied 1 apiece, would you take it? And I don't think there's a Pacer player, coach, or fan that wouldn't say, we'll take 1 apiece and be completely happy with it. So technically, the Indiana Pacers did their job. Now they get to go back to Indiana. And frankly, this is where I think the series is going to start to get a lot more interesting. If OKC took the first 2 games, then maybe we're having a different conversation. Is OKC really going to lose 4 or 5? Probably not going to happen, especially a team. I don't know how long it's been since they've lost 2 in a row. So you know how difficult that would be. On top of that, they're a phenomenal team. Well, now the Indiana Pacers, they didn't dig themselves a hole. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. They took one of these first 2 games, and I'm trying to look here. When do they got the next game lined up here? Next game's not till Wednesday. They'll go Wednesday and Friday, so that'll be the next 2 games. So they got Wednesday's matchup in Indiana, Friday's matchup in Indiana. Frankly, honestly, I think they just got to split one of those 2 games as well. And I think then if you make it a 3-game set and it goes back to OKC and maybe there's a little bit of pressure on the Thunder, maybe not. I don't know if these guys are feeling pressure or not. But again, I'll kind of go back to what I just said. If you would have said through the first 4 games, series tied 2 apiece, I think Indiana takes that. So, but as of right now, I think they did exactly what they were supposed to do, which was grab 1 game. They were able to do so. And if you're the Oklahoma City Thunder, you let 1 slip away, you bounce back, you had a good game. Now you walk into game 3 and you know that place is going to be rocking in Indiana. All right, let me take a look at a couple of the comments here. And then I do want to play Rick Carlisle because we have that. And then hopefully by the time we get to Carlisle, we can play a couple other interviews. I saw NBA.com also had Chet, but he was, I think, on the panel. I don't even know who was on there. I was kind of looking at all this right before I went live, but I think Isaiah Thomas was on there. So maybe I'll play that one as well. All right, let's take a look at a couple of these comments here. Let's see what people got here. Pacers didn't shoot 46% from 3. I think you're referring to that first game where they were hitting everything. They shot 35% from 3. Plus, they didn't play D. I mean, you give up 123 points. You're not going to win too many games there. How many turnovers did they have? 15. They had freaking, what they have, 19 in the first half of game 1. We may never see that again. I'm telling you guys, I was telling everybody before. I've done a lot of post-game shows. I don't think I've ever, that stat has never been there before. All right, let's get to a couple more here. Let's see what we got here. I still like Indy. Brian, I'll tell you, like I said earlier, mission accomplished. Your goal is to get one of these 2 games. They got one of these 2 games. Indy in 6. Brian Jackson. By the way, I know you guys are freaking real NBA and basketball fans. You guys hopping in on a post-game show of the Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. So I appreciate you guys hanging out. Indian 6 says Brian. Goat Dallas. I feel like Hallie has to be way more aggressive starting the game going downhill. Yeah, it's funny. I was looking at his stats right before I went live, and the first thing that came to mind is 7 of 13. I'm like, 7 of 13. Is that aggressive enough for Tyrese Halliburton? Okay, well, is he double-digit assists then? 6 assists. 17 and 6 for Tyrese, and for Pascal Siakam, 15 points and 7 rebounds. You're not winning many games when your 2 best players are combined for 32 points. That's not going to get it done. So I agree with you. The Tyrese portion of it being more aggressive, honestly, there is also a piece of this where you just got to give Oklahoma City so much credit. OKC's defense is everywhere. What's wild to me too is when I start hearing, on the broadcast, we're watching the game, and you kind of just start going through the names, right? You start going through the name, and it's like Cason Wallace is in the starting lineup. It's like, all right, that's not even a name that you should be saying to yourself, like, hey, this dude's going to be the man. Aaron Wiggins gives you 18. The reason why I'm pointing all this out, they got so many young players and so much young talent. I guarantee you there are guys that are on this roster right now that we don't know that much about, and they're just like on the brink of, well, they just need a couple of years and they'll potentially be some big time players as well. So part of this is not just the Indiana Pacers, what they do and what they don't do. The other part of it also has to do is OK is a really good team. OKC wins games 3. Pacers take game 4. 2-2 through 4 games. I'm good. And then, whatever happens after that, happens after that. I think there is a little bit of you just want the series to be good. You want it to be competitive. You want something to look forward to watch. And I think games 3 and 4, because now it shifts to Indiana, I think these are going to be good games. Whatever disadvantage that the Pacers had because they were playing in OKC, they stole one. They took one. So if we could get ourselves tied to a piece through 7 games or through 4 games, I'm taking that. Sleet, do you believe they need more two-way players to save on money? I'm trying to see here if you have another comment on this. Sometimes I get questions. Sometimes I'm not sure you're referring to the Lakers or you're referring to OKC. I'm going to assume you say OKC. I think OKC, they need to just keep doing exactly what they're doing. I had a dude come on a couple days ago. It was on Friday. I'm really glad I had him. It was perfect timing. Andrew Schlecht, who covers the Oklahoma City Thunder for the Athletic. And this is a guy that's watching them every single night. And it's also somebody that kind of understands. He's going to have a better understanding of how the front office thinks, everything else. This is what he's doing. And I asked him the question of, hey, if they didn't beat the Pacers, just hypothetically, would the front office overreact and maybe do something in the summer that's not OKC-like? Would they start going big game hunting and say, you know what, we got to go get a guy like Giannis, blah, blah, blah. And I thought his response, I don't know why I don't think it surprised me. I think it makes sense what he said, but it also just shows you that franchise, yeah, we got a game plan and we don't divert from the game plan. He said no matter what they do, whether they win or they lose, they're not going to go out there and go make some wild, trade, signing, this, that. They'll try to improve around the edges, but their main 3 guys are their main 3 guys, and they're going to take their chances with it. So it's kind of this just, nope, we're not going to overreact. We're not. I mean, look at the Lakers, right? Lakers are a franchise, kind of, they go big game hunting, or they're swinging for the fences, and sometimes they hit, sometimes they don't. Frankly, if you really look at the Lakers since Dr. Jerry Buss passed back in 2013, when you think of Kobe and Powell back in those days, what really have they done since then? They got 1 championship. I'm not trying to take that away. What I'm trying to tell you is that over the last 12, 13 years, yeah, they got 1 chip. And look at how many different players they've had, roster changes they've made, coaches. There's been a lot of change. OKC, I think, is going to be a franchise that's like, yeah, we're sticking to the book and we're not going to make it too many changes here. Pacers aren't winning another game. We need come on, get me 2-2 so we can have a little bit of a series here as we get ready for the NBA draft and everything else that will come up after that. Happy Sunday, everyone. Happy Sunday to you, my friends. I appreciate you guys hanging out on a Sunday. Let's see. A Sunday with sleep. Okay. All right. Let's see what we got here. OKC and Pacers. Oh, OKC and Pacers, 2-way players, offense and defense. Got you. I got what you mean there. Yeah, for the Pacers, honestly, I think they got their main players that they're going to depend on are the main players that they're going to depend on. Like, there's nothing. I don't think there's anybody else sitting on that bench that they're going to come in. OKC might be the team that's like, hey, we have options. We could go big, we could go small, we could go double big. It killed them in the rebounding. I'm gonna see how they did in the rebounds tonight. It killed them in the rebounds in that first game. Tonight they went a lot bigger, 43-35, 8 more rebounds. This is why everyone was asking the questions like, why'd they change their starting lineup? Now, granted, they still got Case and Wallace starting here. But the rebounding wasn't as drastic. It was actually a big advantage, not a big advantage. 43-35 is a good size advantage for one team, especially when the Pacers, who are not even a good rebounding team, dominated the glass in game one. So it gives you a little bit idea there. Let's see what we got here. Sunday is a day to reflect. I like that. Okay, let me do this because I mentioned it. Let me play here real quick. I got Rick Carlisle queued up. Let's take a few questions. Like we'll kind of get just a little bit of an idea what he thinks of the loss, and then we could take it from there. Let's take a quick listen. Here is Rick Carlisle on Game 2 loss against the Thunder.
Another bad first half. Obviously, it was a big problem, and we just played poorly. A little better in the second half, but you can't be a team that's reactive and expect to be successful or have consistency. So we're going to have to be a lot better on Wednesday.
All right, first question here.
Hey, Coach. Leandro Saha from ESPN Brazil. After not going with the two bigs in the first game, they played a big stretch with that of the game with the Hartenstein and Holmgren. Do you feel like this had a big impact on the result tonight?
I don't know if there was any lineup that they used that wasn't impactful for them.
Over here on the left.
Yeah, Zach Osterman, Indianapolis Star. I guess just asking about Tyrese. He kind of struggled to get engaged with the game the first couple quarters. He does kind of find it there in the fourth quarter. Does anything change from him, from your perspective, in terms of just kind of being able to get a little bit more engaged and see some of those shots fall?
Well, there's a lot more to the game than just scoring. So everybody's got to do more. Starts with the best players. Starts with Tyrese and Pascal and Miles, who will be in here to talk to you guys. And then it goes from there. And so, people shouldn't just look at his points and assists and judge how he played, or judge how any of our guys played just on that. That's not how our team is built. I mean, we're an ecosystem that has to function together. And, stats, we got to score enough points to win the game. But who gets them and how they get them, not important.
First row here.
All right, I'm gonna stop right there. I don't want to spend too much time. I'm gonna queue up Chet Holmgren while we're talking here, and then we'll get Chet, and I'll come back to this, and then I'll keep looking at some of your guys' comments real quick. I like this one. The two best teams in the NBA since January 1st are playing. That's why it's fun. Somebody has said here that finals is surprisingly fun. Yeah, listen, I said this from the beginning, but I'm not the guy to ask. I'm not the guy to ask about the NBA finals. I'm just not. I enjoy basketball, and I don't mind that it's these two teams that are in the NBA finals. I can care less where the markets are. What's the product look like? Is it good basketball? Are there players that are entertaining? Is it schematically, are there some interesting things that happen between both teams? Indiana Pacers, one of the coolest stories all season in the NBA, and you go look what they've done in the playoffs. It's been phenomenal. The Oklahoma City Thunder won 68 games in a Western Conference that's got squads up and down the West and so many different stars. They both earned, obviously they earned their opportunity to be sitting here in the NBA Finals. I don't have an issue with it. So I agree with that, the people here. And like I said, if somebody's hanging out for a post-game show tonight, they're hanging out because they're basketball fans, they're NBA fans. So that's probably got a lot to do with it as well. All right, let me cue up Chet here real quick as I was talking here. Let me see if I could get just a piece of this. I just want to get a piece of this. Shaq is there. Kenny is there. This is on the NBA set. So this is probably not too far after the game is when they started this. So let me cue this up here. It might have already started, but that's okay. We'll get a couple questions in, and then we could at least hear from the winning side of it. We could at least hear from Chet real quick and on his thoughts of what OKC did to get the W.
To be as you were tonight, how does that feel for you, knowing that you are more involved in the offense as opposed to just standing and waiting, catching, and having to shoot excuse me when I say this, those bomb shots?
It comes down to understanding that, I like to look at myself as a winner. Everybody's a winner until it's inconvenient. You can't shoot this shot anymore, can't shoot as many shots, can't dribble as much as you want. It's not about that. To me, at the end of the day, it's about winning, especially going through some of the stuff I've been through and how good our team is as well. It's not about coming back and trying to force my will on, what I want to do out there. At the end of the day, it's about figuring out how we can win and trusting that over time things build out. As I continue to work on my game, as I get better at things, as the team, continues to improve and find different areas to be better. But at the end of the day, winning's at the forefront. So
I'm going to just chime in real quick. I don't hear Chet very often. That's a solid answer. I like that. That's a great answer. Basically saying like, hey, it's all good.
Yeah.
Congratulations, firstly.
Where he says, I could get my shots. I could this, I could that. I'm trying to win. That tells me they got a culture in there, especially that young. Think about how many different players in the league are trying to get theirs. Think about how many guys are worried about their stats. And here I am. One of the first things I'm saying is like, Chet, that's not enough in game one. But it's not. I mean, Chet, Jalen Williams have to help Shai. And even if they're not dropping 30 like we've seen Jalen Williams and Chet have done in the past, they still got to be producing. But that's a great answer from Chet to be that young and talking about just team-wise. That's impressive.
But you made a great comment, Chet. A lot of players hear it. Impact winning. Be specific on what Chet Holmgren does that impacts winning.
It's a million things out there. From defense, having your guys know that you got their back when they get beat. You're at the rim to have their back, and that allows them to pressure up, play to get some steals, get us out in transition. It could be, spacing the floor, moving without the ball, attacking a bad closeout, shooting when they close short. It's a million things. Talking, that's a big one in the game, out of the game, doesn't matter. Getting your guys on the same page. I could sit here and talk all night about the things that really matter to winning. At the end of the day, you got to have dudes that can go, get buckets, and put up points. That's what the league's about, and everybody knows we got that. We got the MVP clearly. So, but at the end of the day, it's a five-man game. There's a lot of MVPs that never win a ring. It's not all on them. There's 5 dudes out there, and everybody collectively got to get it done. So, that's my mindset. That's our mindset as a team. All 17 are locked in on that, and that's what we're trying to do.
All right, good stuff there from Chet Holmgren. Good stuff. If I see anything on here, just the way this works is NBA TV is doing, all these interviews through NBA.com. So if I see anything there that is another player, I'll play it. I don't think I'm going to play another coach. If I get another Thunder player, specifically Shai, then I'll play it. If not, then those will all be there on NBA.com. And if the only reason why I don't play it is just because it's not there for me to play it. It's interesting. He's talking about Shai, and he's like, hey, there's a lot of MVPs out there. But he said, but not all these MVPs win championships. I've talked a little bit, not a lot, every time the Lakers have played him or something like that, I've talked a little bit about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and he's such kind of an old school player, if you guys know what I mean. By the way, Shai so far, his numbers in the finals so far, so through the first 2 games, he's averaging 36 points through the first 2 games. Let me give you his stats. I'm going to try to do the math in my head here. He's averaging 36 points, 3.5 steals a game, call it 5.5 assists, and 5 rebounds. So he's 36, 5, and 5 with 3.5 steals through the first 2 games. Let's just say, I think if the Oklahoma City Thunder end up winning a championship, Shai Gilgeous will be the finals MVP. The only bitching and complaining I have about Shai is the foul baiting. That's the only thing that I think it's bothered me about his game. And I hate it because, I don't know, I don't see him as a player that just consistently goes out of his way to foul bait, but a lot of times he does. But I don't really feel it that much so far through the first 2 games. Like, I don't feel like it's been that much of a conversation through the first 2 games, but certainly an old school type of point guard, completely okay with scoring inside the 3-point line, getting to the basket, likes that mid-range jumper, has a little bit of a clutch gene in him. What'd he say? I think he said Kobe was his favorite player of all time. I think that just came out the last couple of days, however that conversation was going. So who he models his game by, I don't know. He's got his own speed. He's not Anthony Edwards where he's flying up and down the floor. Like, he's also not a player that's dishing out 10, 12 dimes a game. He's not the size of LeBron. He's Shai. He's his own prototype. And I'm sure you guys probably have some examples of some players that he reminds you of, but that man goes at his own pace. And listen, whether you're a fan of his game or not, whether you're cheering for the Pacers or you're not, or cheering for OKC, whatever, it doesn't matter. The foul baiting, all that stuff, the dude is an absolute baller. It's just like, he gets 35 and it's just like, you're like, oh, he has 35. And yeah, you just go about the rest of your day. It's not even a conversation or a story. All right, let's take a look at a few of the comments here. Let's see what we got here. Some people want to make trades for the Lakers. Some people already doing that. Great finals for NBA fans, but casuals disinterested. That's fine. I think it is what it is. When I don't think the world's going to end. This is a good point, Seiko. Drawing fouls is also a skill. You're not wrong there. We get upset at the player, but truly, I think you are right there. The perfect saying, don't hate the player, hate the game. That's more on the NBA, and that's more on the referees not to call those fouls. Or that's more on the NBA to say, yeah, that we're not allowing those to be a part of the game. It's not on Shai. You're right about that. It's not. But Shai trying to draw those fouls, it's like, all right, Shai, you're skilled enough. I don't think you need to do that. But you are right. That's a skill in itself as well. That is part of the game. And that kind of happens in all of sports, whatever it is. You can look at any sport and you can look at a player and say, I hate that player does it. Yeah, but if it helps his team win, then it helps his team win. All right, let me just take one look here. I just want to see did they end up playing Shai? And if they got him, then we'll take a look. I don't think they did. I think they just got no, they did Carlisle. Yeah, so I don't think, at least for me, I don't think I'm going to be playing Shai or anything like that. So something to keep in mind in regards to that. Okay, if you guys got a couple more comments, feel free to let me know. If you don't, all good. The goal was to do about a half hour in this post-game show tonight, and we're kind of getting close here to get to a half hour. I'm back on tomorrow morning, by the way, so I'll be back on tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. I think the final things to really just take away from this is kind of a funny comment. Jeannie and Rob just let Alex walk for nothing. That's just a really, really, really bad decision when it comes to the Lakers organization, period. And there's just no other way around it, especially because Caruso wanted to stay and wanted to be a Los Angeles Lakers. So there's really no justification for that. I think the final thing, just kind of take away from this game, like I mentioned, if you're the Indiana Pacers, you walked away, series tied 1 apiece, mission accomplished. I think if you're the Oklahoma City Thunder, you're basically saying to yourself that if we play at the top of our game, no one can beat us 4 times. And that's how the Oklahoma City Thunder will probably approach this the rest of the way. And I think the place is going to be rocking. I think games 3 and game 4, which is going to be Wednesday and Friday in Indiana, that's going to be fun. That's going to be a lot of fun to watch those 2 games. So I think that's going to be great. All right, my people, that's all I got for today. I really, really appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. It encourages me when I know there's some people out here and they want some of that NBA chatter. It makes me say, okay, you know what? Let's just do this for the NBA Finals. And that'll be my plan for now. I'll let you guys know if something changes in regards to that. Back on tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. If you're a member, I did a video for members a little bit early. You kind of planned out everything that we got going on for this upcoming week. So thank you for being on the show. Please subscribe to the channel. Hope you guys got a great rest of your night. And we will see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.